should indeed be live. We're just going to, of course, double triple check what someone in chat confirms.
Oh, yes, I
But
can.
oh yeah, and I'm thinking that we potentially are, because always these start a bit weird. But okay, it's looking like everything is good. So welcome everybody. We have got quite an interesting stream that we're going to be getting through today. Lots of stuff to be discussing, and of course you're going to be joined alongside a really big close up of Hen as well. So you're getting
Yeah,
everything
I'm still
today.
working out my camera.
Maybe it's best just to keep it vertical for the time being.
I agree.
So yeah, but except from that, we do
So
have
it's
others
fine.
joining us. We do have others joining us throughout the stream as well. But firstly, joining us here, firstly we have Negroni. Hello there.
Hi everyone. I hope everyone is
Great.
doing well.
Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed. Also we have, as always, Nikki. Hello there.
Hey guys, good to see you. Good to be back. Good to be here. I'm feeling like a little bit like I'm missing out because the Council of Fans is currently in rest mode.
Hiatus. Yeah, rest mode. But once more stuff starts coming out, it will be back, which is the main thing. But but great to always have you here. And alongside Nikki, we have Jason Charles Miller. Hello, my friend.
Hey. Harry, I have something to admit.
Yeah.
I double dipped this week. I was on Torn Tuesdays. But
Ooh.
I know. I mean, they asked me to be on, and what could I say? But they gave you mad props for all the scoops that you had before anyone else. So your scoops were discussed.
Fair enough.
And you were praised. So hopefully that gives me a little bit of points back so that you don't kick me off immediately.
No, we love everyone and everything, kids. So
We're all
always
in the same family here.
Yeah, I figured it was fine.
We're all friends. And talking about friends, we have Hen, who is maybe not in the best of terms with everyone right now. Hello, Hen.
Is he napping?
Connection, I think.
Connection. Okay. While you wait for Hen,
I have a better connection, I think.
Cool. Well, Hen sorting.
It seems.
Yes. Okay. We might just have to have a just frozen Hen, but we do actually have a Strider who has joined us as well. Hello, my friend.
Hello everyone. Awesome to be here. I've missed doing one of these, so very excited.
Indeed. And of course, we have hi to everyone. Also, yep, we have Varkin, who hopefully should be joining us soon as well. So he'll be popping in a bit. But, well, there is a lot to discuss, and we are going to be going through. First of all, we're going to talk Warner Brothers and all the latest news there. Then we're going to go to Rings of Power and talk about all the latest news and scoops there as well. So, I think, where are we? I think is a big thing. We've had an impactful and quite busy last few weeks, and I think, as you can see on screen,
we're in Spain.
Yes, and Hen is also in Spain. Yes, don't forget that. And also, yep, another thing, Man United have lost 7-0, so that always makes me very happy, very happy. But we'll get through it. We'll get through it. So, first off, So, Nikki, you said you hadn't seen some of the news. So this came out so when these trade publications normally say, an insider's told us, this is basically a Warner Brothers PR person saying this. So they said, quote, though there are no scripts yet, one insider suggests to the Hollywood Reporter that Warner Brothers hopes to turn Lord of the Rings into a Star Wars-like franchise. Based off that, just that quote alone, it's quite interesting, and I want to, because of course you haven't heard a lot of this yet. What are your initial thoughts when hearing a quote like that?
Well, I knew the basic ideas. Like obviously I pay attention to anything Lord of the Rings related, and the potential of getting more videos and more films, more shows is always exciting and interesting to me. I'm always going to be curious about it and give it a chance, of course. It is an interesting statement because it's very commercialized. Like why would you want to compare yourself? Like, Star Wars is fantasy science fiction, and it is an awesome series, and I love everything about Star Wars. I'm a big fan, but you can't really compare the two. So I don't understand exactly what they mean. I would say that what they're trying to say is they're hoping it will be as big, and they're trying to build and tell stories that are similar. So it's because Star Wars is basically, it's one big story being told, and now they've recently started doing spin-offs as well. So maybe that's what they're trying to do here. Like, they want to keep telling the main story, of course, but they're hoping to also have spin-off stories within it that tie it together to the main story, and sticking to canon, which is awesome. I just hope I don't want the Star Wars look. Of course, I would love to see something new and something different to both the series and Peter Jackson's movies. But I'm hoping they're not planning on dressing it up like Star Wars, because we already seen that, and it's not going to work aesthetically for the Lord of the Rings or Tolkien.
Yeah, that is interesting. And for me, my take on this, what I kind of feel like is like it's kind of saying, remember Solo, a Star Wars movie or something like that? I
Yep.
feel like it's something like on the long lines of Aragon, a Middle Earth movie, something like. I think that's kind of what this Warner Brother Insider is trying to claim. And does anybody want to counteract that or give an opinion if we do get movies like that? Who wants to go first? I think Jason. Do you want to go Jason Gurney, then Hen?
Sure.
Jason Gurney, then Hen, yeah.
Well, I think it really depends on who they get to write them. You know what I mean? I mean, you can see with the Star Wars expanded universe, you've got some really great spin-off shows, and you've got some not so great spin-off shows and movies. So by comparing it to Star Wars, I get what they're trying to say. I think it just really depends on if you get writers and showrunners that have a respect and love for the source material. I mean, so on one hand, I'm really excited, and on the other hand, I'm really scared.
Fair enough. I think that's a lot of us at this minute. The Gurney, I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah, I think the correct way is for them, if they compare it to Star Wars, is to follow a show like Andor, which was like making a statement in doing its own thing while expanding on the universe. And I think one thing that Rings of Power actually did was to break a bit the chains of our expectations of maintaining the lore, so specifically loyal to Tolkien. And I think if they start to make their own route, their own path, and do stuff like Andor, I think if they do stuff like that.
I think fair. And Hen, before I'll get to you, I'll let you go in a second. We've got some interesting things from chat where you said, Soul of Cinder says, Warner Brothers just want to make Lord of the Rings projects like The Mandalorian or Rogue One. I think Lord of the Rings will be second main franchise after DC, like MCU and Star Wars Disney. That is fair. And then we also have this. We just need to let them cook. Yeah, we'll see if we'll let.
And the Mandalorian one is a flawed comparison.
I think we've got potential. Like Hen, but do you want to repeat what you said, if possible?
The Mandalorian comparison is perhaps the more flawed of the two. Can't make anything that is show or TV. They have, and so it's going to be more like the right comparisons. Solo, that sort of stuff, not necessarily in terms of quality, but just the idea of it.
Yeah, I'm guessing for some who may have been in and out, I think the point he's trying to make was that it's more like, the solo Star Wars story, like individual spin-offs. So I think, Strider, I think you're the only one left, I think, that we didn't go to. So, give us your thoughts.
Well, people already made good points. Depending on who they have as the writers or the show or movie creators, That's the most important thing, basically. And of course, the one thing they shouldn't do is what Disney has been doing with Marvel and Star Wars, which is quantity over quality. Whatever people think of it, on average, MCU had, in its own area of movies, in its own field of movies, it had a pretty consistent quality until like a few years ago, where they started just dropping like 15 projects per year. While they had like 1 to 3 things per year happening, it was quality, and then it kind of went away. So if they go in that sense, so maybe give us like some TV show and then give us, like one movie or something, we can get good stuff, because obviously there's tons of material and there's a lot of potential for example, several limited miniseries. Just have one story that is told in like 7 or 8 episodes, for example. There's a lot of potential there, but I don't know. I'm hoping that whatever this means, it's not going to be like what Disney has been doing with MCU and Star Wars in the last few years.
Yeah, and to quickly pop in,
Spider, it's yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
It's funny. You remember? I don't think video about other shows that we might want to see, and it was done in a possible show, not a movie. But I think top of our list, both of us, really all of us, was that would be an amazing movie.
Ooh.
Or a couple of them.
Are you saying Agma Wars? I think that's what you said.
I mean, that's the stuff, presumably, that they'll be, right?
Yeah, fair. Okay,
I'm assuming stuff like Engma.
Yeah. So
right?
I think what Head said there is that the idea that Woodbottom might want to float towards stuff like Agma Wars. And we have got a €5 super chat from Priscilla TV, as always. Thank you for the support. She said, I think this is adding on to what Strider said. Hate the Marvelization, Game of Thronesization. That's a pretty interesting word, of fantasy. And everything should be cinematic universe. Amazon at least refrained from the Aragon show. Yes, it'll be interesting to see Warner Brothers' next step. And
I'm wondering though, if I can hop in there. I'm wondering because if they made it clear that they're not gonna remake the Lord of the Rings. At least not yet. And it's way too soon to be doing something like that anyway, which is great. I'm excited to hear that they're not planning on that. But I'm wondering if that's what they want. Like they want to turn it into a Star Wars-like franchise with the basis of Peter Jackson's movies. Are they going to continue then in the same look with the same basis and the same stuff? So we're going back into that. That's what I'm wondering. And
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's totally implicit in what they're doing.
Yeah.
Both because of how they work. Yes.
And that's where it's important to take into account that Peter Jackson, Frank Walsh, and Philippa Boyens have been on the loop about everything. So I guess they are. And with Andy Serkis' sayings of yesterday, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and yes, we'll get onto that Andy Serkis. Yeah, why not? Let's just do it now. Why not do it now? So, Andy Serkis, who I think was a second or backup director on the Battle of the Five Armies, and Pro Tosser, you were Pratt saying 7-0. Yes, it is. It is quite hard to take in. No, but it's only joking. So he has said, if Peter Jackson is in, I'm saying yes. So that's Andy Serkis in regards to the new films. So, Jason, I'll start off with you. First of all, I think the first main discussion we get from here is, do we see a Gollum movie? Do we see Gollum Return?
I guess it really depends, because if you asked me that even 10 years ago, I'd say absolutely. But now Andy Serkis has directed. He's really shown us also the range that he has as an actor. So your guess is as good as mine. The obvious one is a Gollum movie, but at the same time, who knows? But I think him being involved even on the creative process is very exciting. And whether he's directing, writing or being Gollum or being someone else, he has proven to us as fans that he knows and loves the source material many times over. So that's a really, really cool thing. Now, Nikki, earlier when you talked about the look, were you literally talking about like the design of what these movies looked like? Because it's Warner Brothers, then they've got the rights to make it look exactly like the Peter Jackson films if they so desire. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and
Yes.
sort of realized after
that's
thinking a little.
Somebody was going to say something.
Yeah.
What?
I think it was Hen.
Hen, you wanna?
Oh.
I think he's having a little bit of the dodgy internet.
No, I
today.
was just saying that's exactly the point. But it can look absolutely the same, as opposed to a Peter Jackson-like look, which would be the Rings of Power, because they don't have the rights to these designs we have here. That's very exciting. I think that's the main upside that from Warner Brothers' side can have.
Right. And
Right.
you know, for Rings of Power, they had to go ask, hey, can our Balrog look like your Balrog? But with Warner Brothers, they're like, we own this Balrog. It can look exactly like this, or whatever we want it to look like. Rivendell can look the same if they want, you know? So that's kind of neat, because as a viewer, you know, that will instantly sort of take us back into that world. I'm excited about
And
that.
another thing that could potentially happen is, as well as having Howard Shore and just him and his music make like a complete return into those projects, which is also like a huge part, like a huge part of this upside. Just having
That's
Howard Shore doing the score, or just reusing his scores. That's perfect.
Indeed.
And shooting it in New Zealand again.
Yes.
Yeah. New Zealand will be an interesting. Let's hope that New Zealand are hopefully not, feeling a bit sore after the whole Rings of Power debacle. So let's hope and see that I hope would be a problem. But if it's Peter Jackson, I'm so sure a lot of them will be quite happy. So also it's nice to see that Annie Serkis's his audiobook of the Lord of the Rings looks like it's going to be doing. He's voiced over 132 characters, so that's also quite a nice little interesting update. But we've done a poll in chat, and we also, and right now it's I think 32% as Gollum, 1 in Gollum, 55% wanted as a director. But there's someone interestingly mentioned. Let me find it. That he directs. Let me get it up. Did he direct Venom 2 and Morbius? Can everyone fact check that right now? Did he?
I think he did Morbius.
Yes.
Almost
Morbius
sure
was
about that.
And he did Venom too, I think,
No, not
as
Morbius.
well. So, and I'm not sure about Morbius, but he did Venom too.
I hope not Morbius.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he didn't do Morbius.
Jungle Book.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But
besides helping on one of the Hobbit movies, I think he was also kind of assisting even during the Lord of the Rings. I think that somebody can correct me. But I think he even then basically started being like, like helping out. Yeah,
like second unit directing and
second unit.
Yeah.
He
was shooting the Lego. He was shooting it, so
Whenever you need to know anything about movies, we just have to ask Hen. That is why you're here, my friend. I'm joking. No. But he is... Well, thank you, actually, for coming, even though you're on holiday. But interesting thing now, even though we only had like 30... Well, apparently did work on Venom 2, okay. 2,914 votes on Twitter. Do you want Peter Jackson to return? Is an interesting discussion. Peter Jackson director, 55%.
Yes.
Peter Jackson producer, 24%. Fresh new director, 19%. But we'll basically say 20%. And just without actually, let's do it like this. Without giving an explanation quickly, can we go from left to right and just say the category you would choose? That means Hen will go Hen, Strider, Jason, Nikki, Negroni. So the order on the screen. So Hen, do you want to start off? Or are you
I'd love to see another Peter Jackson directed.
Okay, that's
Movie,
Peter Jackson, director from
Yeah.
Hen. Strider.
Yeah, I'm up for Peter Jackson being back in any capacity.
Okay, Jason.
Can I say director and producer?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's my voice.
And then Nikki.
I would say director and producer, but if he comes back as a producer, I would want him to be a hands-on producer, like advisor of some
Yes.
sort, and that he's allowed
Mhm.
to have opinions and actually get to decide and advise whoever is the director. Because I'm all up for a new director. There are many talented directors out there that I would love to see get a shot at it. But I think we need Peter Jackson to some extent in this.
Yeah, I agree. Peter Jackson, producer, and with the entire explanation that Nikki said.
Yeah.
too.
And
Well, if I can just jump in, I think Matt from Nerd of the Rings said in one of his streams when he was reacting to all this news, the idea of he said that as his ideal fantasy on Comic-Con or somewhere, that Warner Brothers would be just coming out on their panel and be like, okay, well, now introducing the head of, let's call it under quote unquote, the head of the Lord of the Rings cinematic universe, Peter Jackson. So having him maybe be the mastermind behind creating this whole, again, cinematic universe, because that's the term for the whole thing. That would be the perfect solution, because he proved that he loves the world, that he really, really cares for it, that he's willing to go through necessary preparations for it, and to dedicate time. Like, I don't know how many years that was. I forgot how many years was the Lord of the Rings in pre-production before they actually started shooting. That's one of the things that made those movies feel so amazing. So having someone like that being, as hands-on as possible, being like the guy who makes the decisions, that would be like, I cannot think of a better person for that, honestly.
And just a piggyback.
Yeah.
I'm from England and I'm the one who's messing it all up. Fair enough. So yeah, I'm interested. See, with Peter Jackson, it's an interesting scenario, because for me, with The Hobbit, originally it was going to be Guillermo del Toro. And then in the end, I just feel like I'm not claiming that I know exactly Peter Jackson's mindset 100%. It could change over the years, but I think he would be happy. Like, he's got a lot of money now. He's got all this movies, a success. I think it's just let him. He'll sit back, be the producer, be that Kevin Feige role that Strider was on about, and have him as sort of the mastermind behind it, and let the new directors try and bring in, because I did see him. We'll bring Hen in a second. Like, even Kelleborn says here, I would love to see both Andy and Viggo direct in new films. I think it'd be perfect, because I just don't think, because of how much Peter Jackson went through, whether he would be up to go through like a whole new Angmar War trilogy, this and that. But if he was up to it, of course, great. I just feel like it would be the best possible thing. Yet, as Nerd of the Rings, a good friend of the channel, like he said, having that role. But then, of course, as Panellists says in chat here, Peter Jackson brings a certain passion to movies that no one has really had the desire to. And yes, exactly. And I just hope, and I just think, having this and having you maybe branch off with other directors with him at the helm would be quite an interesting stead. So, does anybody have any final thoughts on
I
this
do.
Peter Jackson? Go for it, Nikki.
Because I feel like directors, and having amazing and skilled and talented directors that are good at both, like communicating with director of photography and the actors, and also like bringing his vision to the cast and the crew, is really important. But I also feel like the script is really important. So I'm also very curious about who is going to write these scripts. Like, we do know who wrote the source material, but as we have seen, there are certain limitations to it. You need someone who is really skilled at using what they have and making something epic. Still, sort of, yeah. I'm curious about that. Who would be good script writers for this? Like, who are they going to choose? Are they going to have a writer's room? Are they going to have one person? How are they going to do it?
That is So anyone else want
That
to
is
go?
I would love.
that is probably the most important question in many ways. Like, who will write those?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pan.
Yeah, I have like a fantasy kind of would be, oh, let's have a slate of projects. We'll have Peter treatment of all of them. Make Alan and John do artwork based for all of them. Make Howard write basic kind of themes for all of them, and then disperse them to make scripts and actual films out of. I think that would be a pretty good way to handle this, but that's a fantasy kind of situation.
My
That'd be
ideal
pretty cool.
scenario, my ideal scenario would be like a passing of the torch of Andy Serkis directing, with Peter Jackson like being next to him as a producer, talking to him, guiding him, everything, and eventually leaving Andy Serkis do his own thing eventually, because I don't see Peter Jackson as a director at long term, not at all, and I think our dependence of him isn't healthy as well. So I think it would be good to have a fresh new director.
But here's the good thing about Peter Jackson wanting to do this, right, in whatever capacity, whether he's going to direct, produce, or be like the Kevin Feige of the MECU. Yeah, it makes me shiver. But anyway, if Peter Jackson does it, he's doing it for the love, right?
Yeah.
Because he's already literally a billionaire. Didn't he sell part of Weta recently? He became a bona fide billionaire. So if he does it, he's not doing it for the paycheck. He doesn't need a paycheck. He's doing it because he loves it. I mean, that's the optimist in me thinking that if he comes back in, it's because, hey, I got to do something, and I love this world, so let me be a part of it still.
Yeah. I just hope they learn from everything that happened with The Hobbit. That's the main thing.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people basically, I think like the whole, top of Warner Brothers has changed as far as I know, I think. So, in the meantime, hopefully we wouldn't get that type of meddling that we got for The Hobbit. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. But I just think and hope that that's not a risk anymore, at least not a big one.
Yeah, and obviously it being rushed and then them stretching it from 2 movies to 3 sort of at the last minute, a lot of that had a lot to do with why The Hobbit was, what do they say, butter spread with too much bread.
But we must take into account that now we are going to probably stretch the appendices even more. So
yeah, we will actually get into
when
that.
Script is very important.
Yeah, we will actually get back onto that. Agree. That's actually a good point in a second. But firstly, I want to move on to this next phase now. And I don't want to say it's going to be a toxic phase, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless, because let me pull it up right here. We had a little exchange as well between Amazon and Warner Brothers last week as well. We had this is Zaslav, the head of Warner Brothers. He suggested that a move to launch now new Lord of the Rings movies would take away some of the momentum that Amazon had enjoyed in its launch of a series based on the novels. So initially, Nikki, I'll go to you first again. Is this a fine quote? Is it something maybe that's a bit like unfair? Is it just someone just being passionate in their own projects? Is it something little, or is it something more? What's your take on this?
I mean, for me, like, this is like an email. It's like impossible to interpret what he actually meant by it. Like, is he implying that he is challenging Amazon? Is he implying that he's just aware of it? Is it a statement? Is it like, come fight me, kind of? It can be anything, but I feel like it's just a statement. Like, it is true, yes, that we are now going to launch into something that is in direct competition in many ways to the series, but we don't know how long it's going to take for them to get anything off the road. Like, I mean, by the time they have a script ready to film, and by the time they have the cast, the crew, the funding, like everything ready, we're going to be well into probably season 2, if not season 3 of this series. So it's all going to be a little bit like choppy, I think. And I feel like they're going to release if they release films, that's also not in direct competition. It's just an add on in a way, and then leave it up to the people if they want to choose to see both. If they want to choose one, if there's one they prefer more than the other, just let the fans have that.
Yep, indeed. And we will get back to you. Kelleborn Gaming actually mentions an interesting question to us. How many movies do you think they will initially announce? It sounds like multiple films be worked at the same time. Does anybody have an idea of how many potentially you think will get announced? Or is this still, do you think, they even haven't decided yet?
I think I don't think they know exactly what it will look like at this moment, because okay, well, I'll answer the question. I don't think they would announce more than 2 or 3 movies at a time. Like I definitely don't see them doing like Marvel does. Like he's the whole phase. We have like 10 projects in the next 3 years happening. I think they would just announce maybe like 2 to 3 projects. I wouldn't expect more for the start.
If you look at the franchise that they're comparing themselves to, Star Wars, they released 3 movies at a time. Like not at a time, but like there were 3, and then there were 3, and then there were 3. And it's the same. If you look at the parallels, it's the same with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. There were 3. Yes, you can argue that The Hobbit should potentially be just 1, maybe 2, but at the same time there were 3. So maybe their plan is now to do another one with 3 movies, and it's another trilogy that is in the same universe and in some way complements or ties up, or
I think
And
I think there are
Sorry,
two main directions they can take. We have talked about this with Hen and Harry about they can go further back into the Third Age or go deeper into the War of the Ring. And I think it would be wise to try and do one of each first, instead of going like we are going to do a trilogy of the Angmar Wars. Like I think that would be a bit not too wise, to be honest.
Do you think it's too soon, maybe?
Yes, I think the safest choice is the Aragorn movie, to be honest.
Or Gollum one.
Would it be like, I don't know, this is very out there, and I'd be surprised if they did it, but what if they did the Last Alliance, the Forging of the Ring trilogy?
We actually have.
I don't think,
Nikki, we will get back to that in a second, actually. So we'll hold on to that, because that actually is a good thing that we actually were able to exclusively report on earlier in the week. But Hen, I'm going to end this discussion, I think, a review, because I know you have an interesting take. Because I know you're. I don't want to put words into your mouth. I think it's fair to say you're more firmly, I say, in the Warner Brothers camp. So what do you take on this quote that is still on screen? Do you think it's fine? Do you think it's healthy competition?
the competition thing. I think it could be healthy, very much so. It's interesting. We have 2 projects which are now shooting in different, presumably will be shooting in different countries, because Amazon is moving, and having shot the first season in New Zealand is like a gauntlet being thrown to one. 2 different sort of visions. One is sort of Peter Jackson like, one is more very much 2 different takes on this world. I'm assuming the backstory material, so Amazon will get the Second Age one as well too. And it will just be very interesting to look at both of this versus that so much, but just the different approaches, the different things. I don't know.
Yeah,
it will be very, 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 very interesting.
That's
just
fair.
flying in the Warner's camp. The reason for that is very simple, because the show Peter Jackson movie, but can't really. So it's like doing this is a little bit closer to the genuine article, presumably.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. And we'll get back to that discussion.
Advantage.
Yeah, in a second. Yep, for sure. But then, we had Amazon come back. Jennifer Solke, the head of Prime Video, said, "We love our original series. We're extremely proud of it and invested long term. So we definitely think there's enough fan love to sustain ours for a long time. which is quite interesting. What was the two out of this?
Shots fired.
We'll see. Sucker. When asked how Lord of the Rings would be too much on the market, that's an interesting thing, though. How much Lord of the Rings will be too much on the market? But actually, Jason, I'll forward this to you first. Do you think Amazon are worried or potentially worried about all of this happening, or do you think they are still, they're set ahead? Because at the end of the day, would the only rights that they have is making movies, and Amazon they're most focused on streaming. But do you think it is still competition, or this would still be a bit worried? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
I mean, they may be worried. I hope this isn't like a situation where, do you remember a few years ago when like Pixar put out A Bug's Life, and then DreamWorks put out B Story, and then everybody would sort of like put out the same kind of movie? Like, is that what we're gonna have too? Like, is Rings of Power season 5 gonna end with The Last Alliance, and then Warner Brothers is gonna put out a Last Alliance movie? I mean, that could happen. One of the things that I think that Disney Marvel admitted is that they know that they saturated the market. So hopefully Warner Brothers learns from that and doesn't try to put out too many movies at once. That's, I think Star Wars realized that they were just kind of like inundating us with so much stuff.
And I think the best way to say it, we are in the age of remakes, spin-offs, reboots, retreads, sequels, spin-offs, all that stuff. It is a general trend. And now people, 5 years ago, this news came out, people could be excited because was at the peak of Marvel. We still got Star Wars movies coming out. But now, as you said, as you pointed out, Jason, which I like, the saturation has started to trickle in. And I think the interesting thing about Warner Brothers is how they've released stuff by saying, Star Wars releasing once movies. I think, outside of the Tolkien community, I think people are generally, I think it's the first step as usual. Is it going to be a remake? Is it going to be The Lord of the Rings? We know for a fact, even in the deal, it's not going to be a remake of The Lord of the Rings. But people are then going to be like, oh, again, it's going to be more movies. They're milking it. That's the general trend. Like, we're not getting enough original stuff.
I still have friends who are convinced that the series is a remake of The Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
So.
It comes with the package, I think. And I think we're in that period right now, and it'd be interesting to see how Warner Brothers deal with that, because if they go out and again announce 3-4 projects straight off the back, you're going to be a bit, But if they go with one decent contender, they can. I've said this a few times. They can either go safe, or we do an Aragon spin-off. We'll do, a Gollum movie, or you can go a bit more out there. Start maybe with Angmar Wars or Barlin's Expedition. This and that. So there is a potential there. But Nash, I'll go back to Strider because we haven't heard from you in a bit. Do you agree with what Jennifer Solke said? Maybe Lord of the Rings would be too much for the market if there is too many coming out. Or will it be good for fans because we are getting a lot of content? Like, for example, how Star Wars fans have a plethora of stuff coming out and always coming out, always content to discuss. What's your view on it?
Well, no, I disagree with that because I mean, if Warner Brothers is not putting out anything, then that means we only have one thing that is made by Amazon, and that's it. But how can you have too much then if you only have one thing? But yeah, like the previous comments about not overdoing it, definitely stand here. I agree with that. Having just a few, like maybe 2-3 movies for the start, or like one like one mini series and one movie or something like, or any combination of those. No, like, it's just competition. You have two companies doing something similar, and they have to get the best quality out, because if not, the other side will do that. So no, I think that's pretty good news for the fans, because that's competition, and if you have competition, you need to perform well. So yeah, I disagree with this. Like, I don't see this being a bad thing. At least it starts. Then if they all just hire wrong people, make some bad decisions in the creative process, that's another thing. But competition definitely is good here.
Indeed. Does anybody want to have any final thoughts? Henna? I think I can hear you speaking. Do you want to go ahead?
It's yeah. The only thing I'm wondering about is will the of more movies sort of out the TV show. The TV show has been very rigorously sort of presenting itself as an unofficial to the movies. It's been trying to, as much as it legally can, sort of push to look like it. And when you have movies that are like very season 2 of the show is headed for Pelagia, right?
Mm-hmm.
A movie that features Pelagia and it doesn't look the same as it does in the show. Think, the show is faking it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe
Yeah.
Warner
They're
Brothers
gonna
didn't
look.
want?
They're gonna
Yeah.
look at the Warner's design as the more genuine one. You know what I mean? Wondering
Do you
about
think
that. That would be a
maybe
very
Warner Brothers kind of almost put this on Amazon where they didn't allow them, despite it being the initial deal? They're like, no, you cannot make it like this, and kind of put Amazon in a weird position almost as such, because of course they're in a competition. This is Lord of the Rings versus our different franchises, so they've like put Amazon a step behind potentially by not allowing them to use designs in that regard. But yeah, that is an interesting thing. And the final thing, I know, Nikki, you mentioned it once. I know, Jason, you even mentioned it. So we exclusively revealed earlier last week now, the new deal means Warner Brothers cannot develop and produce anything that competes with Amazon's plans and ideas. Warner Brothers can only make original spin-offs inspired by the Lord of the Rings Hobbit books and existing films. Warner Brothers were shown a non-compete agreement, but unsure whether it's signed yet. But because Embracer are still on decent terms with Amazon, we know that they met, they invited them to set back in October, this and that. So it looks like they cannot, well, this news then thereby shows us they cannot really adapt the War of the Last Alliance or the Forge of the Rings, all those parts of the Second Age. But for me, maybe whether that's true or not, I still don't think Warner Brothers would go that far, and their money bank is the Third Age and stuff around the movies, I think, mainly. But Nikki,
Yes.
what is your reaction to hearing that news first off, and then Nguyen will go on to you?
First of all, I volunteer as tribute, regardless of what they're making. I would love to be a part of it. But you guys all know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody who watches these knows that. So
One
if
day-
Warner
We are very
Brothers-
supportive of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am ready with bells on, even if I have to go to New Zealand just to play an orc.
Why not?
But like, I mean, it's not surprising because the franchise, the Tolkien family, like, it would create so many problems considering how much Amazon paid to get the rights to make the series. It would be extremely problematic if they later on gave the same rights to Warner Brothers to make exactly the same story in films. I know the film industry can be a little bit dirty, but I'm pretty sure there is some sort of clause in the contract when they sold it that there has to be a certain amount of years before someone else can make something similar based on the same story. So good on them, I feel, that they're trying to keep the peace and that they're doing that, because as much as I would love to see a trilogy series about the Battle of the Last Alliance in Peter Jackson's aesthetic, with that sort of vibe to it, I feel like it's the right thing to do. I feel like the show still deserves to live and to have a second, third, and follow through with all the seasons, because I really still want to see where they're going to take it and where it goes. So yeah, and that also means potentially a lot more interesting stories and new things that we're going to see from Warner Brothers. So it's exciting.
And well, in my case, answering also a bit the previous question, I think that Amazon is on a weaker position, clearly, against Warner Brothers, but mainly because of the fans. I think a lot of fans, people underestimate how popular the Peter Jackson movies are. So if Warner starts dropping projects, I think people will heavily be on much more on their side than on Amazon's. And I think that's clear even today with Rings of Power, because there are a lot of people hating on it just because it's something different. Like Hen said, there's a lot of things to take into account there. And because of that, I think this is good for Amazon, because if they can't have the fans thus far, and if they can't have exclusivity on the content, that would be disastrous for them. People will take Rings of Power as fanfic almost. So yeah, good for Amazon, and good on Warner Brothers to not go that way.
And
Agreed.
I think you mentioned an interesting thing. Yeah, it feels like Amazon also kind of in a way, if they do get Peter Jackson like Warner Brothers, I think fans, the Tolkien fans, I think it'll be an uphill battle for Amazon to win them back in a way. I think once you get Peter, despite what happened in The Hobbit, I think that is now working against Amazon. I think it's an interesting thing that they are going to have to try and counter. And do you think, Strider, do you think Amazon still have a chance to do it, or do you think once Peter Jackson potentially comes back, the first movie gets announced is quite exciting, is as I said, is going to be an uphill battle they're going to be fighting?
I don't know. I think what Amazon is doing definitely has potential, but I don't know. It really remains to be seen. What we've seen so far obviously had mixed reactions across the globe, and I can see potential there, but I don't know. I think it's too early to say, because the second season can fix things, can bring us a lot of can be like a comeback of sorts, but I don't know. I really don't know what to say about that, because it's a very interesting project what's happening at the moment with Rings of Power. And again, I see a lot of potential there. There was a lot of things that I really liked so far, but then again, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't like. And again, I think one really important thing to bear in mind with Rings of Power is that the creators behind it have the luxury to know that they are basically guaranteed to get those 5 seasons, which allows them to leave the payoff for later on, which is usually not what people do. Like, you have to kind of have continual payoffs in order to keep the interest coming on and so on, in order to not be canceled by the house producing your show. So yeah, I think there's potential, but it's kind of early to say, and it's a very interesting situation, honestly. Quite unique, I think, in many ways.
Before we jump to the next subject, and who knows how long he'll be the head of Warner Brothers. He could be the head of Warner Brothers for the next 20 years, but David Zaslav is the guy that killed a $90 million Batgirl movie. They spent $90 million. And he said, nope, it's not coming out. We're not even putting it on streaming services. It's done. 90 million, throw it in the trash. So let's hope that doesn't happen here. He's the guy that does that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes in all the studios at the moment. It's a little bit scary.
Indeed. It'll be interesting. Let's hope Warner
I've been looking at the stuff
stays afloat.
that Warner's have. Yeah.
So you're gonna go ahead, Hen?
This thing has all been streaming.
Hen, I think you are cutting up a little bit. We'll get back to you when the internet.
It's really hard to hear you, Hen.
Yeah, Hen, we'll get back to you when the internet improves a little bit. For Frodo says, FF big fan. How the hell do you guys get so many leaks and scoops? You seem to be the only source. Keep the good work and keep making Rings of Power interesting in these stories. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And of course, we've been doing this stuff for a long time now. So yeah, it's mainly building connections, talking to people who are fans, working on these different stuff, whether that be, on the sets of the Lord of the Rings of Power, or whether that be in, the legal teams, whether at Warner Brothers, whether at Embracer, etc. Yeah, just fans. And yeah, early source, yeah. But I noticed there is recently another account called Drew Hellbrand who is doing quite really revealing some interesting stuff as well. So make sure to check their stuff out. But I think you've perfectly moved us, actually, in fact, onto, once I can find it, we are going to now transition to what has happened this week in the world of the Rings of Power. And, well, one thing, in fact, is the return, well, not the return, the first viewing of Navi. And of course, it's a shame Vulcan was meant to join, but seems like it's a bit delayed, so we might have to go back at the end for this.
Well, he's a dwarf, not a wizard, so
yes, yeah, indeed, yeah. But I'll start off, Strider. Yeah, actually, I'll start off for you, Navi, but because you afraid you weren't able to be on the second Age show for this. What are your thoughts on Navi coming to Rings of Power?
yeah, I mean that's great news. We were all hoping that he would show up. He's one of the first dwarves you learn about when you start reading the Lord of the Rings. He's one of the first dwarves mentioned, basically in the book. And to make those doors and to be able to see, for us to see creation of those doors would be amazing with Celebrimbor, and to see this friendship between an elf and a dwarf in a pretty different context compared to Legolas and Gimli. That's a really cool idea. And Celebrimbor is one of the most essential characters in the story of the Rings for obvious reasons, and we have for different reasons we didn't see a lot of him in the first season. And Narvi is obviously a very important person in Celebrimbor's character arc. So to have two of them, interact together to see, and I saw someone somewhere on the internet comment or whatever that maybe Narvi ends up helping Celebrimbor perhaps make the Dwarven rings or something like that. There's a lot of cool stuff, waiting hopefully for us. Like there's potential to have this character be like a fan favorite, and I'm here for it. So yeah, great news.
I feel like it's a little late. I feel like he should have been there in season 1. If they were to do it again, I would say they should have started there and not with Halbrand. I don't know, how he doesn't feel as relevant anymore. I would love to see him, and I would love to see him help forge the rings and the rest of them. But then I'm like, okay, how does that work now that they know who Halbrand is, and how does it fit in with the story? I'm struggling to see how they're gonna fix this. But that's just me.
Yep, and we'll get back to Navi. Daniel asks, interesting question. Do you think Amazon will start collaborating on Rings of Power merch before season 2 premieres, or will they wait until the premiere? We know that, of course, Embracer has the rights to merchandise, but Rings of Power has the rights to its own design. So effectively, once they strike a deal, and whenever that deal goes through between them, when a partnership is formed, then they can start producing merch. But it looks like they are on a good deal right now, on a good basis. So we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, we will go.
Oh, by the way, if you want some merch, I do have some. I have made some. It's just not really
not licensed,
official.
I think.
It's not official, not licensed, but it's still pretty cool.
But hopefully the talking stage isn't watching this, so
yeah,
go off to them. We go buy Nikki's merch.
Yes.
The Don Lamroth Yacht Club is still my favorite one. That was Penguin's suggestion, wasn't it? That's
Yes,
fair.
it was. It was no, yeah, it was Penguin. Yeah, we have Dol Amros, and then we have Pelager, Last
Wow, that
Alliance,
feels
Turks. You know,
that feels like
making
nearly
Europe
2
great
years
again.
ago now. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Time flies. But Jason, I know you're gonna might have to pop off soon, so I'll ask you your final thoughts on Navi. How you
Well,
feel?
I've got maybe a scoop. Although we discussed it on Torn Tuesday, that so Celebrimbor was you might know this already, but I don't know if Nikki does. There was a first actor cast as Celebrimbor.
Yeah, I know.
And they used a lot more of it. And so apparently there was rumor that Narvi was going to be in season 1. And there was even an actor that was cast as Narvi, but they filmed those scenes with the first Celebrimbor actor. And that's why Narvi wasn't in season 1 at all.
That makes sense, actually, because they were going to take it in one direction and then they decided not to go in that direction. And that could have been maybe they just decided to change the plot of the first season because they were like, no, let's go. Yeah.
That is actually an interesting point there, because I was going to move on to that next, because with the Navi reveal last week, we also revealed that in season 1, when Celebrimbor and Elrond reached the door of Khazad-dûm, Celebrimbor was meant to enter with Elrond and have an extended storyline in the Dwarven Kingdom. Due to the Celebrimbor recasting and the amount of scale work needed in reshoots when Charles came aboard, which is like really late to production, this was ultimately scrapped for logistical reasons.
So it might have been an entirely different storyline that we would have seen if they didn't have to recast him. That's actually an interesting thought.
But Tom Budge ultimately only filmed like 2 months of the, or 2 to 3 months. So there wasn't, I think, in the end, it seemed like once Charles came on board, there was just not enough time to do everything else. As you can see, we revealed around it being around the problem of scaling, because the most interesting thing about this season was how they would get the scaling correct. And people were actually like kind of relieved when they heard this news, because Celebrimbor was a bit weird. I think we even mentioned last week that this scene here, where Celebrimbor just randomly just leaves, he was meant to actually enter Khazad-dûm right here, and that ended up not happening. So and it is.
If you go back and watch it again, you can see that they actually shot around him being there. So they shot Tom Budge in a lot of those scenes. He was like at the dinner table, and if you go back and think, oh, there was another person there, you can sort of re-watch how they did the shots.
Yeah.
That would be a bit where he had the dinner. That would be technical on a crazy level then.
Yeah.
Hi. Also, hi to Brothers Kun. I was on their show a few days ago. We discussed all this stuff as well, so make sure to check that out. Hello. I think Tim mentioned, Odd Season 1 book needs to be made first. Yes, we definitely need that. Oops, it looks like Ken is left. Let's make this big. Oh yeah, I forgot we have lower thirds, thanks to Kyle. Look, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Hope you're enjoying. If not, what are you doing? Only kidding. So we have that. Okay, now it's time.
Oh, Harry, I do have to go, everybody. So thank you so much for having me on today, everyone, and we'll see you soon. I've got another
great seeing you, man.
So
great seeing
always
you,
fun.
Jason.
I love discussing all this stuff with you guys, and hopefully many more in the future.
Take care. See you soon.
Take care. Bye.
So he's actually left for one of the most fun parts now that we're going to be doing, and it's going to be, as I get it up, something around set pictures, which was revealed last week, and specifically this one here.
Oh, are you on the set?
That's
me?
you.
That's a new announcement. You're a new actor on the show. Yeah,
You're a fan.
we already knew that. Yeah.
He's an Arion, my boy. Look at him.
Thank you. Oh, look.
He's actually going to be playing
humbled.
young Aragon in Warner Brothers new series. You know.
No, sorry, I don't have long hair for that, unfortunately. But someone who does have long hair.
Have you heard of wigs?
Wig. Oh, that's true. Yes.
Have you worn wigs?
Do you wear wigs?
Do you wear wigs?
Would you ever wear wigs?
Would I ever wear a wig? Well, if it was to be on Lord of the Rings, then why not? I'd do a lot of stuff to.
I'd wear wigs on my feet if I had to.
Oh, so you'd just be a hobbit then?
Yeah.
Basically with their feet, which is quite. Okay, I don't know where we go with this, but we're having fun. We're having fun. So, yes, Feanor. It looks like so. Strider, do you want to run through the reasons why this statue might be Feanor?
Yeah, well, because it is.
Yep.
Well, first of all, we have a very epically looking elf right here. Has a, like the trademark proper epic elvish hair, carrying in his left hand a hammer that looks very much like the one, like the size and the shape look very much like the one we saw already in season 1 in Celebrimbor's workshop, or like his apartment, condo, whatever. And also we see him, looking at something he has created. Something can fit in your hand, so could be one of the Silmarils, I guess. And it's definitely elvish. He's obviously a very important craftsman person, so yeah, it's got to be Feanor.
Yeah, and I think there's one more thing on the background. On the floor, there are like 3 diamonds, and that could also mean the 3 Silmarils.
Mm-hmm.
So
there are.
Yes, there
the
are.
photo is zoomed in. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Sorry,
That's
zoomed
good
in
point.
too much. My bad. Yeah, here you can see here. There's one there. There's one there. There's one in the back. Then this is Feanor's. Looks like Feanor's hammer, the one Celebrimbor showed Elrond. And yes, very interesting. So, what do we think we will be getting? What do you think? Will this be an important reference for season 2? First of all, of course, the relationship between Celebrimbor and Feanor. If not, there is a relationship, grandchild. But will this be a framing device? Is the interesting question here. And Hen, I'll see if you might. First of all, let's do a check. Oh, he's not even here. Well, I forgot his internet cut him off. Well, Nikki, I'll start with you then. Do you think this could be a potential framing device for flashback scenes?
Maybe. Or it's just another one of Amazon's tricks where they show us something that gets us really excited and it's nothing. But it could be. I don't know what way.
happens-
Like, why would we
Yeah.
have flashbacks in the story, like the part of the storyline? Like, how would they tie that up? How would they connect it? Would it be like him looking back in, like, I don't know, adoration or in anger, or would it be like someone telling a story? I don't know.
I have a little idea. What if they do the Aragorn plot that they made in the PJ movies? My lineage has failed and whatever, and they do an equivalent of Feanor was. You know how he was. Feanor did things wrong, so maybe they will be like, oh, my grandfather was like this or whatever. But I don't know how that would be a plot line. Maybe in constructing the door with Narvi, I don't know, because
Maybe
the
it's
3
like-
rings are already made. So
Yeah, the 3 rings are already made. Maybe it's like he's in some way using it as an excuse to make more rings, and then he's like, I have to prove my legacy, or I have to, I have something to prove. Because I got the vibe like Celebrimbor is not particularly humble as of yet. That's not the vibe that I was getting anyway. In the show, like, he doesn't feel like, he feels like he's very ambitious and he has like these big goals to be the big hotshot smith of this. So could be something like that's his motivation to keep making rings. Or it could be like he's looking back in desperation and being sad because it's like, oh my god, I'm doing the same thing he did. I'm evil, you know. I don't know.
And yeah, and we have to take into account that maybe he will learn of Sauron and Halbrand being the same person. So maybe he will be like, oh, these 3 rings, I must hide them or whatever, and make other ones because Halbrand, o sea, I mean, Sauron was involved or whatever. So.
Yeah,
I
or
don't
he
know.
doesn't learn because Galadriel is ashamed and they don't tell him and they go hunting for him without telling him, and then he comes back and he's like, ooh, I'm here again, let's make some more rings. And he's like, yeah. Who knows?
And all this speculation based off of a statue.
Well,
maybe
to
it
add-
will be like 2 frames and no more.
To add more to this speculation, look at this.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw your post.
It is very interesting how, of course, I rate the dedication that someone's gone into putting this together, which is fair enough.
Tolkien has
but-
some dedicated fans, man.
Yep, but the thing, if this is a framing device, the thing I might think of if as it being a framing device is through the hammer. Maybe because we saw it was interesting how important it seemed like the hammer was in season 1, and maybe through that, maybe the doors of Dune might be built with that, and there might just be a flashback through that, or it just could be, you know, a juxtaposition showing this maybe statue in a way with the hammer being held. So I think that is an interesting way they could take it. It looks like I'll actually let me quickly put on screen now whilst I saw Strider out. This are the pictures, but does anybody have any further thoughts on this vein?
I was thinking that in season 1 we set up the hammer and we are seeing probably the same hammer there. So that's the best we got to speculate on it being a framing device.
It would be like cool if they did the whole scene where they zoom in and the statue becomes the actual person, the actual actor in the same pose doing that, and then they tell the story.
Yeah. But beyond that, I think in any case, it would have been better to have more mirror images of Feanor in season 1, like explain a bit more why Celebrimbor is the way he is. I think that wasn't deep enough in the
He didn't
season
really
1,
show
so...
much of the city or his story at all. Like, he didn't get any screen time, and there was no people. It just felt like an empty, tiny castle, basically, the whole city.
Yeah.
It was a little strange, the whole thing, but I'm guessing that's because they had to swap the actor.
Yeah, and even the tower thing, the plotline about making a tower, even that was like...
that was just dead.
It's built.
What happened to that? Like, it's there now. Okay, excellent.
Well, I thought it was going to be like the conflict of his season, like.
Yeah. And I've just had a really interesting thought based off. I was thinking it beforehand, but then I just saw this, which backed up even further. So we know when Celebrimbor has his last stand, it is going to be at like the doors of the House of the Mundane, and I think imagine if he ends up dying maybe right in front of the statue of his grandfather.
That would be very sad.
But it'd be very sad, but very poetic at the same time. Like it would almost, I think that'd be an interesting parallel that they could make.
Yeah.
And isn't his head put on a stick even?
Yes, and a banner, and he's paraded around. Yeah, after he wouldn't give up the location of the 3 Elven Rings. So it is very interesting. It's very interesting how they are going to work all that out. But we could talk about Feanor, we could talk about him for a long time. But this is one of the Region sets that we saw. Quite interesting. And this is like a further out view of the statue.
I think it's interesting how they use blue screens and not green screens. like
That was
it.
actually same for season 1 as well. And I'm hoping then, because I hope you get some on the floor scenes in Eregion. I think that is important. I hope we do. And seeing this statue and seeing this blue screen, hopes at least maybe in the background will be a big, wide, hopeful like city that we will be able to see. Because in season 1, the cities felt a bit compact, I must say. Yep, here's another view. Let's see if Strider. There we go. There he is. It has worked, my friend. It has
Perfect.
worked. Yeah, we were just talking about Feanor, so nothing much. I'm joking.
Well,
well, we made a scoop talking. We made a scoop. Sounds like we're making ice cream. We had a scoop around the Orc set still being there. And look, is this the Orc tunnels? You think? Like, what set is this here? Strider, do you have any ideas?
wait, let me just see that. Can we maybe zoom in a bit?
Sure, I'll zoom in a bit. How is that?
It kind of looks
Yeah.
like the area where he was fighting the wolf, doesn't it? Erondale.
Yeah, but there weren't there weren't trees though.
No, that's right. Why are there trees all of a sudden? That's a little bit sus.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
It is.
Maybe it's a flashback to show the relationship with Adar and Sauron.
Ooh.
Perhaps like Mordor flashbacks. Maybe.
Yeah, but I think their flashback would be probably somewhere in the north, because as far as I remember, like the whole Adar kills Sauron thing happened more in the north, like in that northern fortress, I guess, that Galadriel finds in at the start of the season. This could be, you know what? This could be perhaps maybe an elvish forest. You know, like a set in one of the forests, perhaps.
Yeah, it
could be just something with halflings. You know?
Like, oh wait, it looks like
there's a falling tree though.
Yeah, no. If we can zoom in here a little bit, like, what is that? It looks like there's almost like someone's living here.
That kind of looks like a. Is that like a, what's it called? Like a well, or what is it?
No. Well, of course, because I'm sorry, it's quite small for you guys, but to me, it looks like it's a lever which has a pot on it, and it looks like there's 2 sticks coming off the pot in each direction. Yeah, it looks like almost like a lever type of thing. Yeah, I hadn't seen that before.
Would it be something else though? Could it be like a human? Because the elves wouldn't let that tree fall. But could it be, instead of orcs, could it be like a human village, or like some other creature? Could it be hobbits? Could it be like the first hobbit encampment? Them deciding, you know, fuck it, we're just gonna settle down and build houses instead.
Well, or it could be the second blue wizard.
Second blue wizard, or it could be a still door. Maybe try to survive, or maybe it could be stores. Who knows? Well, we've just gone through so many different characters, so I think that just shows that we don't have an idea really, because we've named off like.
No, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to guess what this could be, definitely.
Sauron, funny enough, mentions interestingly probably too early for plan for Battle of Eriador. Potentially, unless that's 2-episode battle.
You tell us, man.
Yeah, in episode. Oh, that is true. Yeah, you should tell us. But yep, it looks like that. Maybe I think or maybe this will be one.
Yeah. I think the rune option is also quite a good one. Like I think this could be, you know, like, again, obviously absolutely clear speculation, because again we're just having like one random photo, but you know, if I had to make a bet, I would say it is one of those Eastern plot lines. I think the likeliest people to bump into this of all the main characters from season 1 would be the stranger, and what's her name?
Nori,
yeah. So I think if I had to make a bet, I would make the bet that they are the ones bumping into this, and obviously it's on the way to Rune. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good guess.
I agree, actually.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, I meant
Fair enough.
Harfoots, not hobbits. Don't say the
Yes.
H word. Yes, I agree. I do agree. 100%.
But does anybody have any final thoughts? Anything they want to discuss? Okay, why don't we do for the last few minutes? Should we do a little Q&A period where if anybody in chat wants to ask us anything, ask us any questions.
Do it now.
I have a
Yeah,
question
we-
in the meantime.
Oh, fair enough.
What do you think will be the season finale? Like plot points of this season? Where do you see the show going?
Strider, do you want to start off?
So the end of season 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing some sort like regarding the stranger, we're gonna get some magical showdown at the end of that season probably. That's one, but I think the main one would probably be sadly us saying goodbye to Celebrimbor, because I could.
Yeah.
Again, this show, like my main concern forever, like that's my top concern. Then 10 empty places, then whatever else, is the fact that I just do not think that the show has enough time to do proper justice to all the storylines, to everything that's supposed to happen. So that's why I think we will say goodbye to Charles Edwards, Celebrimbor, basically at the end of the season. I think it's going to be. We also know there's going to be like a 2-part battle, like 2-episode part battle happening. So I guess the Battle of Eregion would be my very easy bet to make for the end of the second season.
What about you, Nikki?
Honestly, I was left feeling a little bit disheartened by the ending of season 1. A little bit heartbroken because I didn't like any of it. And you all know I've been really positive the whole way through and like, yeah, no, it's gonna be fine, but it wasn't fine. So for me, I'm a little bit like I don't even know where they're gonna take it now. Like we've all talked about how we're definitely gonna see a showdown between Adar and Halbrand, and we've discussed whether or not or how Halbrand is now going to be able to forge the rest of the rings or somehow influence them. If we go off anything like the first season, we're probably going to see a forging of the next rings in the very last episode in the final 10 minutes. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm almost afraid to say anything because I feel like whatever I say that I get excited about isn't going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
So I just want to wait.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
actually wonder if they are going to take like each rings making, like the Dwarven, focus on that on a season, then next season do men. I don't know if that's the correct approach, but I would see them doing something like that. Actually.
Oh, we might
Indeed.
actually get to see what's his name, Pharason taking over Numenor at some point to a certain extent. I don't know if we'll see it all go into the sea, but and of course Isildur making his way back to his family, but not of course without doing a substantial amount of growing before then and probably becoming the man he's supposed to be at some point.
Mm-hmm. I think I think the end of the second season is going to be very, very, very dark. I think like on all in all of the, or like most of the storylines, there's going to be dark stuff happening at the end. So basically, I don't know, like the power struggle in Numenor, as you just said, is gonna end with Farazan taking over. There's gonna be a battle of Eregion with Celebrimbor, getting defeated and captured and or killed, depending on how exactly when they're going to do, like maybe at the start of the third season or whatever. And I guess like some also darker plot twist with the stranger in the east as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there's so much they could do. I always thought a good season finale. Well, my idea since the beginning was that for season 2, the season finale would be Sauron forging the One Ring. But then, as like not to say post-credit scene, but that'd be the main thing. But then after, you get a boat of the two Blue Wizards and Glorfindel coming to Middle Earth. But then, of course, that was always in my head. But then, with whether maybe, let's say, there's a small chance that the stranger is one of the Blue Wizards, or the two Blizzard Wizards are already in the East, then of course that would just contradict that. Yeah, hopefully. But Exelion of the Fountain asks, can they recast Celebrimbor now? And Charles
They've
Edwards
already
is
recast Celebrimbor.
Yeah, that'll be a third recast, and Charles Edwards is signed on for season 2, and Elrond is signed. Well, Rob Aramayo is one of the only 3 actors signed on for 5 seasons, alongside Daniel Wayman, who plays the Stranger, and Morfydd Clark, who plays Galadriel. Storyteller.
Daniel Wayman is for 5 seasons.
He is 5 seasons, which is interesting.
I like him, even though I just
which
really
is
hope he's
great.
not Gandalf. I still really like him, both as an actor and the character that he is portraying on scene. I like him.
Very lovely.
I very much agree with all that. He was amazing, and just please not be Gandalf, but please stay as awesome as you are.
Stay as long as you like.
I don't want to rub in. I don't want to sound like I'm rubbing it in everyone's faces, but I'm not sure if I'm even allowed to say this. But I had the chance during the premiere to spend during the after party. I was able to spend like over 40 minutes talking to Daniel Wayman, because like everyone was going around to all the other cast members and speak to them, and no one was really. Well, Daniel was kind of by himself for a bit, so I just had a lovely discussion with him and his wife for a bit. It was really nice. He's a really cool dude, really awesome. So yeah, no, he's a nice lad.
Lovely, down to earth, and his presence on screen is really, it's nice.
Makes me feel safe.
Yeah. Even though there was this question about whether or not he was Sauron and if he was evil or not at some point, I feel like he is really authentically there.
And
the thing is, if he ends up being Gandalf, which I sadly to say, but I think it's quite likely, even though I don't like the idea, I think it's quite likely that he is Gandalf. I think he's going to be a great Gandalf, because he definitely has that Gandalf the Grey warmth there. Like he absolutely nailed that.
So out of place there. He's fantastic, absolutely amazing Gandalf. Like, approve of him as an actor playing Gandalf the way that he's playing him, but it's so out of place in that storyline, and at that point in time in Middle Earth, it's not right, and it feels cheesy. Some of the things that he says that kind of ties him to being Gandalf. Oh no!
He also said stuff connected to Radagast. I don't know. Like, there was a lot of. It's a okay, pun intended. There's a lot of gray area there where where what's the cheesy, what's just like proper homage,
So, I wonder if he's Saruman. That would be quite interesting. Okay,
that's interesting.
Cool.
Let's remember the audience questions.
Yes.
That's what
we did open up for questions, and then we just completely ignored everyone.
Yes.
Sorry.
But I think we're having fun. We're having fun here. Tim Bolton asks, just a thought, the digging and tree falling, which I have on screen. Numenorians, they kill knights and begins in season 2.
That could be.
Yes.
Because they did talk about that on the boat on the way back. And Farazon did say that he was like, the reason he wanted people to go was because he was aware there was a lot of values and a lot of good trading and stuff there. So that's a good one.
Yep. And then we have a season 2 finale prediction. Numenorians coming with help to the conquered ME, while Lindon have its last stand. Then Farazon would capture Sauron like in books. It would be a good plot twist.
That would be that could work. Yeah.
Well, yeah, just change or supplant or whatever Lindon with Eregion, and I could see that.
Indeed.
And then it would make sense, because then the Dwarven rings would have to be forged in season 2, and then the 9 to the men would have to be forged in Numenor in season 3.
Oh, that would
but they would have to be forged in Eregion. Like, Sauron was there, Anatar was there, so I think the rings will be forged in Eregion. But the thing that would happen is, so according to this theory that Sauron just proposed, if Numenor came to help Eregion, that would kind of throw away the whole War of Eriador. Like, I mean, obviously they will have to cut a lot of stuff from the story, because they have this 50 episode limitation. So that would kind of like shorten the timeline and skip over from one point to another. But I guess it could work in the show. Like I guess that's something that could happen because of the time limitation they have.
They have been going off canon quite a bit, so I don't see why they wouldn't not forge all of the rings in Eregion. Like, they have broken canon quite a few times where it's been pretty substantial. So if the rings aren't all forged, I don't know. Like, I don't see how we can go back there. That's the problem.
Exactly. I think it would even make less sense to go back to Eregion and make them all now. Like with everything done in season 1, it would be like retconning kind of.
Yeah.
So,
no, but
as
it wouldn't
like
because
to see it because it's right.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know.
Yeah,
how
but we had this huge. Again, for everybody watching, like we would all love this to be canon, but we are just speculating within the confines of the show as it is at the moment. I think we definitely have room there for the rings being made in Eregion because the fact that Galadriel didn't say anything to Celebrimbor, she didn't reveal Sauron's identity, that leaves the doors very much open for Halbrand or Anatar or however we were going to call him, just waltzing back in and just making the rings. And actually I would connect, again, speculation, but I would connect that to what you people were saying while I was offline. I was watching the stream. Feanor's statue, I could see a scene of Celebrimbor like thinking about what he's doing and so on, and then looking at Feanor, and then that would be like thinking about him would be something that could tilt him towards, okay, yeah, Halbrand, my friend, you are right, let's make some more rings. And also I could see him then naming him Anatar at some point in season 2.
Yeah, we seem to. I seem to somehow forget that they don't have cell phones in Middle Earth, so it's not exactly like Galadriel can text him and be like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? Can you stop hanging out with Sauron, please?" You know, she actually, if she's gonna travel to try and find him or try to fight him or do whatever, she's gonna be gone.
But
so he can.
Why wouldn't she tell him though?
Because she's ashamed. She's very clearly very ashamed of that.
That, but also again, we have to make the thought. It's not the job of the viewers usually to connect all of those dots, but trying to do that, I would say that the reason why she didn't reveal, again, of course, because not this besides just her being ashamed, is also that maybe she was afraid that the rings wouldn't be used and then they would have to leave Middle-earth. And that was, again, to remind ourselves, that was the whole reason why they were making the rings in the first place, apparently, in the show. So that would be one reason why she wouldn't reveal that it's Sauron, because then they wouldn't use the rings.
I would have liked if one thing, if she had revealed him that he's revealed to her that he's Sauron, but without telling her that, oh, we should conquer the world or whatever. Like, I think that wasn't that entire plot ending wasn't quite well handled overall, I think.
Yeah. I mean, they've been playing up the fact that he was a heartthrob and that, she was clearly had a thing for him at some point. It was like, won't she sort of vibe? Are they? Who is he? Is he the king of men? Does she have a thing for him? And then the whole thing felt wrong to me because Galadriel in the books was, well, what it seemed like to me, she seemed very suspicious of him from the moment he existed in her presence. She was like, I don't like you. So this being like and also for Sauron to be, or Halbrand to be obsessed with Galadriel in that way feels weird, because I'm like, it feels like he's incapable of feelings, of love, of anything like that. He wants to rule the world. That's what he wants. That's what matters. Like, for him, like having a weird schoolboy crush on Galadriel is kind of strange. Like, it makes him too human to me, and he's not human. So I don't know. I hated it, but anyway.
I think he was just into. Yeah, the acting was definitely great, but I think he was just more like impressed with her, the power of her character. I think he was like just seeing her as a worthy partner with the goal of spreading his dominion over the world. I think it was more like that, not like the exact romantic love. I would, maybe that's what they were doing. I don't know, but again, just my take on it is maybe he was just impressed, like, okay, this person is obviously very strong. And she's immortal. She's powerful. She could be someone, a great addition to my plans. Basically something as pragmatic as that.
Yeah. Fan questions. I
Yes.
think was,
I was thinking about that.
where we were originally. Cedarwood says, any speculations about the Balrog reappearing in season 2 or 8th season? I think it's so hard to say at this point. Yeah, it's just weird how they initially. Yeah, hopefully never. But it's weird how they've teased it, but now it not having any payoff would be really, really strange in my mind. What
They're
do you
gonna
guys
have
think?
to have it, right? Because they were hinting at it when they were like going down into the mountain and the Balrog shows up. It's like, okay, well, obviously he exists in there, or it. I don't know if it's male or female. But they're gonna have to dig down there eventually because that's what they do. Like they are gonna dig. So eventually he's gonna show up. But if that's gonna be in season 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know.
Maybe the stranger will be back in Moria and they will have a showdown.
No, please, no. Why would you say no? Why would you say that? Come on.
Yeah, I'm just messing around.
I know. But yeah, please, Amazon, don't do that. I think, first of all, I think it was a huge mistake to show us an awake Balrog, because if I was a Balrog, I was awake and I hear dwarves already there, I'm just going to climb and just like wreck everything there like right away. And I think he will not actually do anything. I think he will not be active for like a few seasons, I think, because a lot of stuff needs to happen with the dwarves. Like they need to get the ring. They need to start, we need to see more of them at their peak before they're ruined. And they also need to help elves from Eregion. There was a situation where like when Eregion was attacked, I think they actually saved Galadriel and Celeborn, I think, the dwarves from Khazad-dûm. So I think maybe what could happen is we could have that changed. Instead of Galadriel and Celeborn, because of wherever they're taking Galadriel, it could be that they could help save Elrond and his forces. So I think we will not see Balrog. Maybe we will see another glimpse of him in season 2, but I think his payoff would happen in later seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I have no idea why he's here like that. Why put so many things into 50 episodes of a already huge bloated story? But here we are. So anyway,
maybe the Silmaril that melted into the mountain, which by the way is also still hopefully just a hoax. Maybe it works like a prison for him. So once they start digging, they open the prison. So up until that point, he's actually trapped in there because of the Silmaril. So when they take it away, when they take the Mithril out, it's gonna be releasing him somehow.
That might as well happen. Yeah, I think within the show that could happen definitely. I think that's a good guess as well.
And that should be connected to the dwarves being more greedy due to having the 7 rings. I think you have to first set up the 7 rings and then have anything related to the Balrog. Not Balrog first. That would be very, very weird.
That's a good connection as well, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
were you watching memes?
What are you doing? You googling?
He's just vibing.
Sorry.
We can maybe skip to the next question.
Yes, next.
Yeah, we can. Let me just switch back.
I just want to say, I saw Tim Bolton say, I think Galadriel's arc for season 2 will be reuniting with Celeborn, which I also think, like, we forgot to even talk about.
Mm.
This show isn't about what we think is gonna, like, this episode isn't about that, but at the same time, yes, we're gonna have to see Celeborn at some point. He should exist in this world.
He does. He
Yes.
does.
Just please
She
don't take
mentioned-
away the place of Glorfindel, please. I need to see that elf on screen more than I need to see Celeborn, but I mean, we have to see Celeborn, so, you know.
Yeah. And Celebrian at some point, too. I would love to see that.
Mm.
Yes. Oh God. The
We should
child.
already be seeing that, to be honest.
I think what we were also meant to do was to talk about the movies I potentially might see from Warner Brothers and our opinions, but I think we might as well leave that for separate stream now because I think we have gone on quite long. I think one final question here is who is playing Celeborn? Well, one possibility was Callum Lynch, so there's similarities there. So that is one. But for me, he still looks quite young for the role, but who knows? Maybe it could work. It could work. But I think we are just about there. Does any of you have any final things to add about today?
I just address a comment by, I hope we pronounce that right, Cedarwood, like in relation to Nine Rings being potentially for the Numenor. I mean, all of the rings were forged by Celebrimbor, with the exception of like the asterisk there is on the 3 rings that were made by himself only, and the rest of the rings were made with Sauron. And of course, we have the one ring that was made by Sauron. So, you know, like I don't see them being forced to Numenor because you need to get Celebrimbor to Numenor. I don't think that's going to happen.
But that's the canon, though. Like the way that I feel like there were 2 major things that were hinting at this in season 1. It was number 1, he was acting like Celebrimbor's apprentice the whole way, and he was learning stuff, and he was like super interested. So he could technically make them himself without Celebrimbor. And then also he was really interested in the forge at Numenor, which is also a little bit of foreshadowing that potentially, yes, it was a little bit of foreshadowing about him being Sauron, but it was also potentially foreshadowing for future seasons that he knows, oh, they have a forge, maybe I can use that. So I feel like there were like few little hints there that could hint at it, but yes, no, I would definitely love to see it being canon. But I don't know how.
Yeah, I think we're safe with this particular plot point because they don't have time to get all of that there, and then like I think for at least for that reason only, I think we are safe that the rings will be made in Eregion, and then when he conquers Eregion, he'll just, I mean, that's how it happens. He will take the 7 and the 9 from the dead Celebrimbor. So I think we are safe because it would be too much for them to move that. I don't think they have time to make all of those detours. Though I can definitely, I could see that sadly happening, but I just don't think they have the time to actually do it properly. So let's just hope.
Maybe Celebrimbor thinks that he's doing it to help, and then he's like not like with Sauron's influence, but he's like, oh, I've learned this now, so why don't I make some for the men and for the without Sauron at all, and then Sauron comes and takes them from him and uses them for himself.
I think we had another fan question popping up. We could do that.
Which one? Which can you name the name of the commenter and I can put it up?
I don't remember.
The last one that was wait.
He was talking about Celeborn.
Is it this one?
For Frodo, yeah.
Yes.
Interested about Celeborn again. Any thoughts on this question?
What if Galadriel was kind of actually obsessed about finding Sauron, and she had a fight with Celeborn, and then Celeborn went on to find LOTR. Something like that.
That would be
Or
very.
if
Well-
he's prison, like she thinks he's dead, doesn't she?
Yeah,
Like,
they said goodbye when he was going to a battle, so she
yeah.
thinks he's dead.
You don't look for people who are dead. You just, I don't know, except, I mean, you do,
Yeah.
but to a certain extent, when they go out to battle and they don't come back, you kind of assume that they are dead, especially in a war like that. But maybe he's a prisoner being hidden away somewhere. Maybe Sauron keeps him prisoner. I don't know.
I think
Didn't
Yeah.
we see Galadriel with the cloak? Like she was one of the Sylvan elves or something? There was a
yeah, I think she will definitely go on the quest to find him in the, for whatever reason, or she will just bump into him unexpectedly somewhere. I think what may happen is the reason why he was not around, or she couldn't find him for so many years, could be that after the battle, Beleriand was destroyed, whole council content was destroyed. He fled for whatever reason. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Again, we are grasping at straws to make this make sense. Hopefully they will make it make sense in the show, but from what we know at this point, I think we can say just maybe he had like a PTSD thing happening, where he had to go and he found his place in Lothlorien, doing like a Zen monk retreat or something like that, and just trying to find his peace. And then she's on this trip wherever with, I guess, Elrond, and she finds him there. I mean, that's something that could happen.
I agree with that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird. It's hard to make this make sense with what we know at this time.
Yeah, it was this one, Negroni, wasn't it? I believe.
Yes, that's the picture.
Yeah, it's so funny. I saw someone even found out that, of course, this is probably Galadriel at the bottom. I think Morfydd Clark did a recent Instagram story, and someone was able to find out that her like braided up hair wig was in the bottom right corner, which is crazy. So yeah, it shows that is probably her. So very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. But I think that is enough for today. Now we'll leave it on this lovely looking picture of them in the forest. We started with 7. We are now down to 4. And we did expect more, but we were happy. Oh, I ruined it. Oh, it was such a good roll as well. Well, yep, I think thank you everyone for joining us on this Sunday evening or afternoon, wherever you are. First of all, thank you, Negroni, Nikki, and Strider for joining today.
Thanks for having us.
All the way to the end. And also thank you to Hen, who had to, of course, depart due to internet difficulties. Same with Jason had to do another stream as well, so that's all good there. I know Varking was meant to make it today, but he couldn't due to last minute delay, and Stride and Penguin as well. So shout out to all them as well, and everyone at Fellowship fans, and to you guys most importantly as well. So yep, it's been a really entertaining, fun stream. I think we've covered pretty much a lot. So I want to thank all you guys for watching. And again, look at this. There's a running bar at the bottom, which means you have to do it. Like, you have to do it. Now,
you're legally obliged to do this now because he put it on the screen, so you just have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will see you soon. Hopefully, with some more scoops and rumors around the Rings of Power. And if not, I think it makes sense to do another one on deciding which movies we would like to see. I think that's something that I think we didn't even get to touch on today.
Yeah, that would be fun.
It would be a good shorter episode about that.
Yeah. Perhaps a shorter episode with a Q&A. Longer.
Yeah, perfect.
That'd be fun.
I think sounds good to me. But yeah, thank you all. And I think I can actually now play an outro video.